So now, what's what? It begins by telling us that we are going to understand about interrogatives. What do you mean by interrogatives? Interrogatives are questions, right? But now here we have to understand, before we jump into this, we have to understand what interrogatives are and what determiners are. What do you mean by, what is the basic difference between interrogatives and determiners? Something that interrogates, something that determines. You know that basic difference, right, from the word itself. അല്ലേ? അപ്പൊ എന്ത് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിച്ചാൽ, when it is a question, it becomes an interrogative. All right. Anything that modifies a noun becomes a determiner. So now we are going to understand these key terms. All right. So first we need to understand what an interrogative pronoun is. All right. This, I believe I'm telling you so that you understand. I hope you know what a pronoun is. Pronoun എന്താണെന്ന് സംശയമില്ലല്ലോ. So now let's go to interrogative pronouns. So what is the function? Now, what, which, where, why, who, and how have many functions. All right. In certain sentences, these keywords like what, which, where, why, who, and how have multiple functions. All right. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഫങ്ഷൻസ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കി എടുത്താൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ ചാപ്റ്റർ എന്താണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവും. You will know what means in certain sentences. All right. So first let us understand what. When we ask a question with what is being asked? What are we asking? We are asking about some information. Okay. Yes. For example, what is your favorite? Here, the subject, you understand the subject. Okay. It is not implied. It's only implied. It is not direct. What is your favorite song? What is your favorite music? That music, song, all that is only implied. It is not directly mentioned. Now look at this, which. So what basically asks about a thing, which will ask about a person or a thing, who usually asks about a person, whom, to whom did you give this? It is an object pronoun, right, that asks about a person. Whose is always possessive. So this is the basic idea of these words. When what, which, who, whom, and whose is used in sentences, you find that they ask about information regarding a person, a thing. All right. Is that clear? So in this sentence, what is your favorite? It can be anything. Whoever would have taken it, the answer would be what? I believe it is this person or that person. Who did you call? My mother. So there you find interrogative pronouns basically fulfill or stand in for a noun. Okay. So they fulfill the function of a noun. And whenever you see interrogatives, that sentence should end with what? It should end with a question mark. All right. That sentence will be a question. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So look at this. What is that? It is a sweater. So what എന്ന് ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് എന്താണ്? അവിടെ സ്വെറ്റർ ആയിരുന്നു. Okay. So whenever you find a sentence which is asking information or it replaces or stands in for a noun, immediately remember it is an interrogative pronoun. Now there are other words which are also interrogative pronouns like whatever, whichever, whoever and whomever. Okay, but you don't find that often in English language. They're quite uncommon. All right. So when the answers to these questions, here you have the questions and the answers. When the answers to these questions are either people or object, okay, you can understand that it can only be an interrogative pronoun. ഈ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾക്ക് ഉത്തരം ഒന്നില്ലെങ്കിൽ ആൾക്കാരായിരിക്കും, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ it can be some kind of an object. All right. Then it will be what? An interrogative pronoun. Again, the first clue, like a detective, when you get a sentence, first find out whether that sentence ends with a question mark. All right. Then you have to check whether that particular sentence is asking for an information. The answer to that question is referring to a person or an object or a thing. Okay. Then again, it is a interrogative pronoun. Fine. All right. So when I say thing, it can also be a place. It can either be people, it can either be a place, it can be a thing. So the answer, if it is a place, a person or an object, then it is what? It is an interrogative pronoun. Now in page 145 in your textbook, the first question is, what happened between you and Tom? What happened between you and Tom? So there, that what directly addresses what? It is directly connected with you. What happened between you and Tom? Okay. So that what is linked to what? You. That is another way of looking at it. All right. The other ways of figuring out if a sentence is an interrogative pronoun. Now this is what I was saying. If the word on its own is used as a subject, an object, all right, or the complement of a verb, if it is, then it is a pronoun. Like what happened between you and Tom. All right, there it is a subject of the verb. In the second one, page 145, what did you call him? There, what is a, what did you call him? So there it is an object. Now, if in a sentence you find that the function, the WH word is used, all right, where in front of a noun or it modifies a noun, then it is a determiner. All right. If it modifies a noun, then it's called a determiner. Then it is no longer an interrogative pronoun. Fine. Now let us imagine a sentence. Let us imagine an interrogative pronoun. It is there in a sentence. It appears in a sentence, but it is not a question. That sentence is not a question. Okay. It appears in a sentence which is not a sentence, but rather it is a question. Then what happens? Then what happens? E paranya what, which, where, why, who, and how. All right. Imagine that appears in a sentence, but it is not a question. Then what happens? Again, there is confusion, right? So if these WH structures, they appear in sentences that are not questions, that means they are no longer called interrogative pronouns. നമ്മുടെ ഇന്റർഗേറ്റീവ് എപ്പോഴാണ് ഉപയോഗിക്കുക? വെൻ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ, അല്ലെ? ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ മാർക്ക് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലാണ് നമ്മൾ അതിനെ ഇന്റർഗേറ്റീവ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നുള്ളൂ. ഒരു സെന്റൻസ് മാത്രമാണ്. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, പേജ് 145. The same, this is one page, I know. You can look at the second set of examples. See, I have started with the dish which is nearest to me. There are so many sentences which do not really have a question mark. Appa adakku endana ennoru chodyam varum, right? You are probably going to be asked a lot of questions and you will have to identify what it is. Ivade look at this sentence. Yon chose chocolate cake, which is a favorite flavor. The student who scores the highest on the quiz gets a special treat. I talk to the teacher who I trust the most. In questions, so ഇവിടെ question mark ലാണോ അവസാനിക്കുന്ന ഈ sentence? അല്ല. None of these sentences are questions. All right. So then, here you do not have interrogative pronouns. Rather, they are relative pronouns. Hi. So now we have to understand what relative pronouns are. So what exactly is a relative pronoun? What is a job or a function of a relative pronoun? Relative pronouns are only going to do something very specific. It is going to act as or similar. It fulfills the function of a linking. All right. It does the function of linking together what? Dependent and main clause. Yon chose chocolate cake, which is a favorite flavor. Yes. The student who scores the highest on the quiz gets a special treat. Can you understand? So there is a connection between, it connects what? You can either think of it like this, connecting a noun and another clause, or an independent with a dependent. All right. And they do not end in a question mark. Our question mark kandillengil, immediately you can eliminate what? Interrogatives. Fine. Fine. All right. So here relative pronouns basically do the job of linking. All right. They can be called linking words, but not linking verbs. All right. VERBS alla ningalku adum padikkanundu alle, linking verbs adalla. Here I am using WORDS. So they are used to link. Fine. Now again, something that the text addresses without much of clarity is, when do we use who and whom? What is the difference between who and whom? Now you have to understand whom is usually used when it is formal, and it is quite unheard of these days. We rarely use whom. Okay. We rarely use whom. Basically, we would still use the who rather than whom. So here you have, who do you have in mind? Whom have you in mind? So it's basically about formal and informal. Is this clear? Who and
Yes, ma'am.
whom. The function of who and whom. All right. Now let me confuse you a little bit more. which is your favorite movie? So here, which is directly addressing what, which is your favorite movie. Since it is addressing your, which and your is connected, you say that it is an interrogative pronoun. ഇതേ സെന്റൻസ് മറച്ചിട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ which movie എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ you are addressing the noun, അല്ലേ? Which movie? You are qualifying the noun, yes or no? So in such cases, all right, which movie is your favorite? ഇങ്ങനത്തെ sentences, ഇങ്ങനത്തെ questions വരുമ്പോ it becomes an interrogative determiner. Fine? All right. Let us understand interrogative determiners. All right. Let us understand interrogative determiners. Let us look at what, which, whose. നേരത്തെ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടു interrogative pronouns ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. Now we are trying to understand interrogative determiners. All right. The confusion usually happens, it occurs because all these WH words have multiple functions. All right. In certain sentences, they act as interrogative pronouns. In certain sentences, they act as interrogative determiners. You have to analyze the sentences, and only when you read the sentence multiple times will you understand the role of the WH words. അവരുടെ എന്താണ് റോള്, ഫങ്ഷൻ ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് സെന്റൻസ് മനസ്സിലാക്കിയാൽ മാത്രമാണ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആൻസർ കിട്ടുള്ളൂ. Alright. So now we are going to understand interrogative determiners. Alright. So again, like I said, it's very easy to confuse interrogative pronouns and interrogative determiners. Fine. That much you agree with, right? So here you have to understand, when you look at a sentence which is an interrogative pronoun, and when you get a sentence which is an interrogative determiner, you just have one clue. There is only one clue. ഇത് രണ്ടും question mark ഉള്ള sentences ആയിരിക്കും. How do you understand the difference between interrogative pronouns and interrogative determiners? ആകെ ഒരു ഓപ്ഷൻ മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ, ഒരു ക്ലൂ മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. നൗണിനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യണ്ടോ? ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഇന്ററഗേറ്റീവ്സ് നൗണിനെ ഡസ് ഇറ്റ് ആക്ട് അപ്പോൺ ദ നൗൺ? അപ്പോ ഒരു സെന്റൻസ് കിട്ടിയാൽ അത് ആദ്യം ഇന്ററഗേറ്റീവ്സ് എവിടെയാണ്, WH വേർഡ്സ് എവിടെയാണെന്ന് നോക്കുക. പിന്നെ നോക്കേണ്ടത് ഈ WH വേർഡ്സിന്റെ അടുത്തുള്ളത് എന്താണ്. Is it referring to a pronoun or is it modifying a noun? എന്ന് നോക്കുക. All right. So if it unlike pronouns, you find determiners, they modify a noun or a pronoun that is already in the sentence. അപ്പോൾ നൗണിനെയോ പ്രോനൗണിനെയോ മോഡിഫൈ ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ then it is a determiner. അല്ല സെന്റൻസിൽ it only exists as a question, it does not modify anything, it does not modify the noun or a pronoun. നൗണിനെയോ പ്രോനൗണിനെയോ മോഡിഫൈ ചെയ്യുന്നില്ലെങ്കിൽ then it is an interrogative pronoun. If the pronouns or the nouns are modified, all right, or it is addressed or refers to, then it is a determiner. Yes? All right. Now, if you look at the examples, I think it will be easier. Now, whose shirt is this? Possessive ആണ്. നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട് possessive ആണെന്ന്. Whose shirt is this? What movie should we watch? Which car is better? അപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ പ്രോണൗൺസ് ആയിട്ടല്ല ആക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ യു ഫൈൻഡ് വാട്ട് ഇസ് ബീങ് മോഡിഫൈഡ്, നൗൺസിനെ മോഡിഫൈ ചെയ്യുന്നില്ലേ? ആരുടെ ഷർട്ട് അല്ലെ? മൂവി, the car. So it's not simply, these words don't simply act as pronouns, but rather they are modifying the nouns. Fine? What movie, what car, which car, whose shirt എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുമ്പോ നൗണിനെ മോഡിഫൈ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ it is playing or acting on the noun. That will be a better term. Okay. It is connected to the noun എന്ന് ആലോചിച്ചാൽ then you will understand that it is an interrogative determiner. Clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
ഇനി അടുത്തത് വരുന്നത് റിലേറ്റീവ് പ്രോനൗൺസ്. Now, if you look at the relative pronoun, you have to understand നേരത്തെ പോലെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല, സെന്റൻസ് ആയിരിക്കും, പക്ഷെ എപ്പോഴും റിലേറ്റീവ് പ്രോനൗൺ ആവണം എന്നില്ല. ഇനി എന്തിനാണ്, why do we use relative pronoun? Relative pronoun is used after a noun. എന്തിന്? നമുക്ക് ക്ലാരിറ്റി തരാൻ. Okay, what are we talking about, whom are we talking about എന്ന ക്ലാരിറ്റി വരാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ റിലേറ്റീവ് പ്രോനൗൺസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. Okay, and usually it is contained within the relative clause. Now look at this. The man who lent me the book. ആ ഡിസ്റ്റൻസിൽ 10 ലൈബ്രറി ഉണ്ട്. But what am I talking about? The library where we met last year. Okay. Yes. The man who lent me the book. അപ്പോ ഇത് എന്താണ്, എവിടെയാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുക? So how and where do we use relative pronouns? All right. First, it is used after a noun. ഒരു noun കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് വരും. All right. And since you've all studied grammar, you know that there are always exceptions, but we are not going to worry about exceptions because then that will take another few days for me to explain. So usually relative pronouns would come after a noun. Now, in case of people, if you're referring about people, then we can use who, that, whose, and whom. All right. Objects ആണ്. If you're going to refer, if you're going to bring clarity about the objects, then we would use which, that, and whose. All right. If we are talking about a specific place or a time or reason, all right, എന്ത് സംഭവിച്ചു, എവിടെ സംഭവിച്ചു, എപ്പ സംഭവിച്ചു, അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങള് ക്ലാരിറ്റി കൊണ്ടുവരാനാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ then we use the WH words like where, when, why. All right. That. Yes. That, which, who, whom, and whose. Now, next in the text, there is a sort of a confusion regarding which and what. Okay. Which and what? What is the basic difference between which and what? What is the basic difference between which and what? When do you use which and when do you use what? So basically, which and what are both mainly used as interrogative pronouns, right? They're used mainly as interrogative pronouns, but they are both different. Sometimes they are used interchangeably. ചില സമയത്ത് ഇവരെ മാറ്റി എന്താ പറയാ, അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും മാറി യൂസ് ചെയ്താൽ മീനിങ്ങിന് വ്യത്യാസം വരുന്നില്ല. But there is a basic difference between which and what. When we say what shop do you want to go to today? There are a zillion shops. All right. രണ്ട് കടയുടെ മുമ്പിൽ വന്നിട്ട് which shop do you want to enter എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ അവിടെ നമ്മളുടെ മുമ്പിൽ ആകെ രണ്ട് ഓപ്ഷനോ രണ്ടോ മൂന്നോ ഓപ്ഷനേ ഉള്ളൂ. So which is what is used when there are a lot of options, which is used when it is limited. All right. When the options are limited. For example, what color shirt will you wear today or tomorrow? There will be a lot of shirts that you have, or you will have a lot of tops that you have of many colors, multiple colors. That depends on you. But if you only have two washed shirts, which shirt will you wear tomorrow? You only have two shirts. All right. Then you shouldn't say what shirt. You should say which. Which of your children is starting school this year? I don't know which fork is for my salad. So here you find options are limited. All right. I'm going in this order because this is the order that is there in the text. All right. Now coming to something even more interesting. That is interrogative adverbs. So we've studied interrogative determiners, interrogative pronouns. Now we are coming to interrogative adverbs. Now can someone tell me what are adverbs? Different kinds of adverbs. So they basically modify the verbs and interrogative adverbs too. Now when it comes to interrogative adverbs, you have to focus on when, where, how, and why. So these are the main WH words which you will have to focus on. All right. These are the main WH words. Matralla, uda how mudi varanda. So you have to figure out how they are going to be considered an interrogative adverb. All right. So anything that shows time, when, whenever, where, wherever, refers to place. Now quantity. How do you show quantity? You say how much. How do you show reason? Why? And manner, how. Again, these are very basic things that I'm teaching you. When does she come? When does she come? When, can you see the cursor? When modifies the verb come. When modifies the verb come, where does she live? How does this blender work? How does she look? Why are you still talking? Here you find what is the function of these so-called WH words. Here they function to modify the verbs. And at the end of each sentence, there is a question mark. So it's very easy. They are interrogative adverbs. Now coming to relative adverbs. Interrogative, meaning at the end of the sentence, there will be a question mark. Now let us come to the relative adverb, which will be a sentence with a full stop. Okay. And what does a relative adverb do? A relative adverb basically, again, is used to connect. All right. Is used to connect what? The dependent clause to the main clause. Let us see how it's done. Now, this is one function that I want you to keep in mind. The relative adverb, it usually replaces this structure. A relative adverb will replace the preposition plus which, on which, on which, all right, in which. So what happens is the preposition plus which structures are modified or they are replaced by relative adverbs. All right. For example, so on plus which is usually replaced by where, when, or why. Now that was the month in which, in which ഈ സ്ട്രക്ചേഴ്സിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ പറയണത്. In which. Fine?
Yes,
So
miss.
this was the month in which I got the threatening letter. So in which will be immediately replaced by that was, I'm sorry, the S is missing. That was the month when I got, in which Mari, adendai Mari, when I. That was the month when I got the threatening letter. So you have to look at the word when, all right, and then think about the function it does. First of all, it is a what? It's a sentence with a full stop. Then you have to think whether it modifies the verb. All right. Then you have a relative adverb. Where anengilo, this is the house in which she lived. This is the house where she lived. All right. So this is basically relative adverb. So when you're looking at the sentence, see whether it modifies the verb. If it modifies the verb, then it is an adverb. And since it is an adverb and since the sentence ends with a full stop, it is a relative adverb and it is used to connect. These are the conditions that you will have to look at. ഒരു സെന്റൻസിൽ കൊടുത്ത WH വേർഡ്സ് റിലേറ്റീവ് ആഡ്വേർബ് ആണോ എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ കണ്ടീഷൻസ് ഫുൾഫിൽ ചെയ്യണ്ടോ എന്നും കൂടി നോക്കണം. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ഓൾ, does it connect the dependent clause to the main clause? In that case, it is a relative verb, adverb. All right. Then, does it replace the preposition plus which structure? In that case, again, it is a relative adverb. All right. Yes.